best beginner chess opening should do three things. It should get your pieces developed very quickly, it should open up lines of attack, and it should be a ton of fun to play. This opening does all of that and more. So when you get the white pieces, you're going to play e4, and almost everybody you face is going to play e5. When they do, you're going to play d4, giving up a pawn. And of course your opponent is going to take this pawn because they're not scared, right? Now you're going to give up another pawn by playing pawn to c3, and after they take this pawn, you're going to develop your bishop to c4. And hey, it's another free pawn. They're going to take the pawn on b2, you're going to take it back with your bishop, and this is the Danish Gambit. And if you look at the position right now, yes, we are down 2 pawns, but we have 2 very active bishops eyeing down that king side. We have the only central pawn in the position, and we are the only one to have any pieces developed at all right now. Now there are only really 4 moves you're going to see here. Let's go one by one. The most common move you're going to see is knight to f6. After this, you're going to push the pawn to e5, attacking the knight. Now the knight only has 2 squares it can go to. It either can go back home where it came from, or it can go forward to e4, which is what you're going to see most of the time. From here, we're going to take on f7 with our bishop. After king captures, because that is check, we're going to play queen to d5, not only checking the king, but also attacking the knight. After the king moves back to e8, we're going to recapture the knight with our queen. Now in this position, black's going to realize they need to start developing their pieces, so they're going to play knight to c6, we're going to follow suit, knight to f3, and of course they're going to play bishop b5 with check, because if you're a beginner and you can check your opponent, you gotta do it. No biggie though, we're going to block with knight to c3, and of course they will capture the knight, because if you can capture a piece as a beginner, you gotta do it, right? And of course we're going to take back with the bishop. Now the most common move here is queen to e7. We're just going to go ahead and castle, and here white is almost always going to play d6, trying to get that light squared bishop out. We're not even going to worry about this. We're just going to play rook to e1, putting more support on that pawn. And of course the most common move here is to take the pawn, because when you can take material as a beginner, you got to take material. But no big deal, we'll capture with the knight, they'll capture with the knight, we'll capture with the bishop. And now we reach this position here where I think you have to prefer white. Black cannot castle here. Black has only the queen developed. White is fully developed here, rooks are connected, you gotta prefer white here. But of course black has to do something, and they're gonna play bishop to e6. This is what they play most of the time. When they do, we're gonna take the pawn on b7. When they protect the rook by playing rook to d8, we're gonna take the pawn on c7. And now when they bring the rook up thinking, haha, I pinned your bishop and I'm double attacking your bishop, we're just gonna throw in this queen to b8 check. And when they block with the rook, we'll take with the bishop. When they take with the queen, we're not going to take back with the queen. We're first going to take the bishop with the rook, and this is check. And after the king moves to f7, attacking our rook, we're going to bring the queen back to b3, protecting the rook and also presenting some potential discovered attacks. Here the best move for black is rook to e8. We're going to take the rook, they're going to take back with the king, we're going to play queen to g8 check. King has to move forward, and then we're going to exchange queens. And if you look at this position here, not only is white up a full rook, also up a full pawn. If you can't win this game with white, there's no hope for you. Go play checkers. Now let's look at the second move you might see most common, and that is knight to c6. After this, we're going to play queen to b3, attacking that f7 square twice with the queen and the bishop. They're going to play queen to e7, protecting that square, and we're just going to continue to develop with knight to d2. Now they're going to play knight to f6, continuing to develop and putting pressure on our e4 pawn. No big deal, we're going to play knight g to f3, continuing to develop. And now they're going to take that pawn because, hey, it's a free pawn. It's attacked twice. We're going to ignore this, and we're just going to go ahead and castle. But of course, because they're a beginner, they got to take that knight on d2. And this is a fork with the queen and the rook, but hopefully you see that our knight protects it, and we're going to take back with the knight. Now here they're going to play d6, preparing to develop their light square bishop. We're going to play rook to e1, attacking that queen, which is pinned to the king. So they're going to block with the bishop, but it doesn't matter. We have too many attackers on this bishop. We're going to capture the bishop. When they capture with the pawn, we're going to capture with the rook, and the queen is lost. After they take the rook with the queen, we're also going to take back with the queen with check. And if they block with the bishop, we're going to take the pawn on g7, and wherever they move the rook, it doesn't matter. We are going to win the rook, because rook to g8, we take with the queen with check, and after king moves, we win the other rook. And if they play rook to f8, we just take with the bishop, and we're clearly completely winning here. Now the third most common move you'll see here is the immediate bishop to b5 check, but not to worry, we're just going to play knight to c3, blocking the check. And again, because it's beginner chess, they have to take our knight. It's a rule of beginner chess. If you could trade pieces, you trade pieces. So we take back with the bishop. Now here they're going to play knight f6, attacking our pawn, and we're just going to do the same thing we did the first time when they played knight f6. We're going to push e5, attacking their knight, and again, the knight only has 2 squares. It's going to come to e4, and we're going to go through the same rigmarole here where we sacrifice, check, back, take the knight, and of course c6. It's pretty much all the same things we saw before. Castles, get the bishop out, play the rook over, take, 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 block, take the pawn, rook moves, take. We saw all this before. It's pretty much the same game as in the first variation. Now the last variation you might see it, not very common, but you might see it, is the immediate d6, preparing to get that light squared bishop out. And again, we're just going to play queen to b3, attacking that f7 pawn. Here they're going to play queen to e7, once again protecting that f7 pawn. And we're just going to continue developing with knight to c3. Now they're going to play knight to f6, attacking that pawn on e4. This time we're going to play knight to f3. We can't push the pawn because they have the d6 pawn there already protecting. So we're just going to play knight to f3, developing our knight. And now they are going to develop the bishop to e6. We're going to go ahead, take. Queen's going to take, and we're going to take now on b7, attacking the rook. Now they're going to try to play some tricks by playing knight takes on e4. No big deal. We're just going to take back. Now they can't take with the queen. I hope you see that our queen is protecting the knight. So they're going to play d5, attacking our knight again, but we're just going to castle here. We're going to ignore it. We're going to say, go ahead, have our knight. Not a big deal. They're going to take the knight, of course, because it's a free knight, but we're going to take the free rook on a8. Now here they're going to take the knight again because, hey, why not? It's a free piece. We got to take it. And again, we're going to play rook f to e1, attacking the queen, and the queen is completely lost. Best for black is to take the rook, and we take back with check. And after they block with the bishop, we take the knight, and when they move the king, we take the rook, and we are once again dominating black. And instead of blocking with the bishop, if they move the king, no big deal. We're going to win the knight, and this is a completely one game once again for white. So there it is, the Danish Gambit, the best opening for beginners in chess. But look, it's not perfect. There is a way to beat the Danish Gambit, and I show you how in this video right here.